Okay, so going to continue with my reading from the manuscript of the Anapanasati book, possible book. And this is talk number 4, and it is titled Recognizing and Relinquishing the Hindrances. Yesterday, focusing on meditation, we brought up the qualities of piti and sukha in terms of dealing with Vedana in meditation. It's striking when the Buddha talks about the sense of well-being and happiness that arise in the mind. It's from the relinquishing of hindrances. It isn't just technique. If I get my focus down, if I get my mind concentrated, if I get my mind to just stay still, then the mind will somehow experience well-being, rapture, and pleasure. There also needs to be an attentiveness to the hindrances and a relinquishing or a letting them go. The first step to get a handle on the hindrances is to recognize and identify them. This is the hindrance of sensual desire. This is the hindrance of ill will. This is the hindrance of sloth and torpor. This is the hindrance of restlessness or of doubt. Something unrecognized and unnamed has a lot of power in the mind. The mind is influenced by it. If we don't recognize it clearly and bring attention to it, understanding that this is a hindrance, a nivarana, something that obstructs the mind's well-being, then we happily trundle along on the path the mind has set for itself. The mind could be stuck in an underlying doubt, wavering, skepticism, uncertainty, or any of the other hindrances that informs the state of the mind. So the first thing in dealing with the hindrances is to really scan the mind to recognize them more clearly. What is the fundamental tone here? What is affecting me in this present moment? That gives you a much clearer path forward. When there's irritation there, that's ill will and aversion in there. Whether it's directed outward or inward doesn't really matter. Its content doesn't matter. It's a hindrance, however much the mind has its rationale or justification for it. In the same vein, recognize more clearly when the hindrances are not there. Right now, I'm sitting, the breath is coming in, the breath is going out, the mind is clear, spacious, not really attracted to anything in terms of sensuality, excitement, or gratification. I'm not irritated, the mind's bright, not sleepy or drowsy, not restless, but content to be with the meditation right now, not doubting or wavering. Recognize. Okay, the hindrances are in abeyance. To be able to recognize and delight in that is a great bonus. That puts a lot of emphasis on our being able to work with the hindrances skillfully and to be able to relinquish them. That is for our well-being and happiness. The images that the Buddha uses to describe the hindrances are quite vivid. As long as one is still engrossed in the hindrance of sensual desire, then the Buddha said it's as if one were in debt. Because one's in debt, one has no freedom. Even if one makes a show of wealth and material prosperity, there's always that niggling feeling that I'm in debt. I've got to pay it back. When is my creditor going to come and take things back? There's the quality of being unable to be at ease. The opposite is also true. When one is free from debt, there's this sense of happiness. When one pays off a debt, there's a sense of lightness. There's no longer a burden on the mind. Most people who have had credit cards probably know what it's like to both to have debt, and then when you finally pay it off, there's a sense of relief. I think the only debt I ever had or felt responsibility for was Casa Serena, which houses female visitors to the monastery. As a layperson, I never had any debt, except for a very small student loan, which hardly counts. With debt, there's a sense that one has mortgaged one's happiness. That's what we do with sensual desire. We forsake our own quality of well-being, inner contentment, peace, and link it to or make it dependent on something else. My happiness is dependent on getting that particular flavor or that particular sensation, getting that particular thing. We lose our happiness and peace of mind that way. In meditation, start to look and investigate how we cannot get trapped in the natural tendency of inclining to sensual desire. Relinquish and let it go, coming back to inner contentment and well-being. The Buddha describes the happiness and well-being of a person free from debt as similar to the person who relinquishes the hindrance of sensual desire and is able to be free to an extent. The Buddha depicts the one who is entangled in the hindrance of ill will as one who has an illness and is sick. One can never quite enjoy one's food, sleep, or the company of other people because one has a fever, headache, or illness, making one completely out of sorts. In the same way, when we harbor ill will, aversion, and anger, then we've made ourselves ill, and that is not to our benefit. We wouldn't go around testing different germs and strains of disease just to say, I've had that experience, I wanted to see what it was like. Instead, one would say, no, I really wouldn't want to know what it's like to have pneumonia. I really don't need that right now. We can have the same perspective towards aversion and ill will. No, I really don't want to go there. It's truly upsetting. The Buddha says that the happiness of relinquishing the hindrance of ill will is similar to what happens to someone when their illness goes away. When their fever breaks, there's a sense of happiness. One time I had scrub typhus, and there was about 10 days or so of fevers over 104. It went up to 106 or even a bit higher on some days. It was quite extreme. I was getting worried whether I was actually going to survive or end up without a brain. Everything seemed fried. I was in hospital, and after about 10 days or 2 weeks, the fever finally broke. I hadn't slept for many days because the fever was so high. I was sort of delirious. Then I fell asleep and rested. I was so happy. When I woke up, I had an IV in my arm. The needle had jostled while I was sleeping, and my arm was swollen and filled with water. All the IV fluid had just gone into my arm. I looked at that and thought, I don't care. Fever's gone. I'm so happy I couldn't care less. That'll go away eventually. There was such a feeling of happiness when the illness went away, feeling that it was over. It's like that when one relinquishes or sets aside ill will, thinking, I don't care what they say. I don't have to get caught in the aversion and ill will. The happiness that comes to mind contributes to piti and sukha. You both cultivate this and recognize that it's a fruit of the practice. There's both one-pointedness, attentiveness to the meditation object, and relinquishing the hindrances. That has to be a part of the process. This is not just bashing away, trying to make the mind stick on one point. There needs to be investigation going on. What are the hindrances? How do we relinquish them? Realize that a nivarana, a hindrance, is that which obstructs the goodness of the mind. Drowsiness or sloth and torpor is another hindrance, and the Buddha compares it to a person who is in jail. When somebody's in prison, the world goes on in its own way, but the person in prison isn't able to partake or participate in the world. In the same way, when one is trapped in sloth and torpor, there's this whole world of possibilities around one, but one's unable to participate because of the sloth, torpor, dullness of mind, and sleepiness that take over, and then collapse in on a point of dullness. In the Visuddhimagga, the monks, the elder disciples, are listening to the Buddha talk about sloth and torpor. Once the discourse has been given, the assembly breaks up. The monks are talking, saying, "That was such a wonderful discourse. Wasn't that great how this or that was described and this or that point was made?" Then a monk who was engrossed in sloth and torpor says, "I don't know what he said. I didn't hear anything." He was imprisoned in dullness of mind. Prison isn't designed to be a pleasant experience. When one is released from prison, after spending a long time there, one has the opportunity to live one's life freely again. It's the same when the mind breaks through sloth and torpor. When dullness starts to set in, you feel that if you keep attending to it, keep bringing up its energy, or keep sharpening and refining the mind, something is going to work. When it does, you feel this sense of spaciousness, brightness, and lightness of the mind. It's really just so much more at ease. There's happiness or satisfaction there. You don't have to be a helpless victim of the dullness of mind. One can exercise some effort and dispel that dullness. It's like when the weather changes. The clouds are blown away and dispelled, and a bright sky comes out. It's really a different feeling. Cloudy, rainy skies have a certain charm to them as well, but there's a different feeling when the sky is bright and fresh. It's the same way in the mind. Dullness may have a certain charm and attraction to it, but it doesn't have the same quality of happiness and well-being that a clear, peaceful mind does. The Buddha compares restlessness and worry to somebody who is a slave. In the English language, from our own cultural perspective, to be a slave is quite a strong statement. Being in slavery doesn't bring up any connotation of well-being and happiness. It's insidious how the mind is always restlessly looking for something to do other than attend to the present moment, its well-being, and the cessation of suffering. It's like it's restlessly looking for more suffering to poke its nose into. Our mind is enslaved by that habit. To really see the harm, the lack of benefit in that kind of restlessness, is where the Buddha encourages the mindfulness of breathing. It's the primary condition the Buddha gives for alleviating the quality of restlessness and worry. Uttacha kukucha. Attend to mindfulness of breathing in ways that help to calm and to settle, relax, and bring tranquility to the body and the mind. Moving attention and energy through the body with the breathing and energy of the breath is relaxing and settling. When restlessness starts to settle down, there's a happiness that comes up in the mind because one is freeing oneself from slavery. It's a very vivid image, and the happiness that then arises is similarly vivid. For the last hindrance, skeptical doubt, the image that the Buddha gives is of somebody like a merchant who is traveling in ancient times in India over a desert or very remote area, fraught with brigands, thieves, robbers, and other dangers. Reaching the destination and not having lost the caravan, not having been attacked by robbers, and having been able to find enough feed and water for the animals, the sense of happiness and well-being that arises is similar to being able to set aside doubt, wavering, and skepticism. Am I right? Am I doing it wrong? Is the method right? Is Buddhism right? Is the teacher okay? Am I in the right place? Is this a true teaching? Even if it is true, am I able to practice it? Being able to set aside these worries, skepticism, and doubt, and put one's attention back onto the practice and go forward with the training. The happiness of setting aside that doubt and wavering is as if one had gone through these dangers and path of difficulty and reached one's goal. When attenuating, undermining, and bringing the hindrances into abeyance, an inherent happiness and well-being arises. Attend to the hindrance in the sense of making it clear whether this is a hindrance or not. Then work with the different ways of relinquishing hindrances, giving oneself the opportunity to experience the sense of well-being and happiness, piti and sukha, that is a part of practice and training. This is really a prime method or means of giving oneself the opportunity to experience that sense of well-being. This well-being is then the basis for the mind to settle, compose, be still and clear. I offer that for reflection this morning. So, morning talk. It was a short one. Still, something to work with. Any questions, comments? Yeah.
Relating to, I guess this would relate to doubt. Sometimes I'll, let me think. I'll think about things, doing things like, I'll say, like, how do I say this? Say something like, all things are impermanent, and so one way or another it's unsatisfactory, and there will be dukkha. But then there'll be things like someone will have like their family, or they'll do something like they'll be in a relationship, with someone, and they'll be like, oh yeah, love is painful, but it's worth it. And a lot of people are really adamant, oh, but it's worth it. It's worth the pain because it feels so good. And then I kind of like don't believe that, but like some part of me kind of does want to believe that too. And so I'm like,
we all love a good fairy tale.
I guess that's my doubt. I don't know if but I kind of like, so I try to counter that doubt, and then I kind of come up flat. Like I don't usually, sometimes like, well, yeah, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, well, there's the bait. It's like the in the words of the like in the Satipatthana Sutta. The words for worldly and spiritual are amisa and niramisa. So amisa is like with a bait, and amisa is like the meat or that you put on a hook. And niramisa is spiritual or beyond the world, and it's without the bait. And it's that bait that it hooks us. It attracts us. Every fish that's ever bit into a hook. So it wasn't trying to get that hook. It was trying to get the bait.
Okay, I won't argue with that. I'll leave it there.
Nothing different, but it just reminds me of before I was a monk, I was attending Ajahn Amaro down in San Francisco, Duncan Street, and this was more than 30 years ago, but I have this blisteringly clear memory of pretty much asking him or telling him the same thing that you just said, sort of like, well, yeah, I'm in the world and I'm doing things in the world that, yeah, and I know that it ends up in suffering, but I think it's worth it. And he didn't say anything. He just kind of looked at me with this look of, and it was a look that just kind of ended all discussion. It's sort of like, how could somebody be so thick? And I decided not to say anything either, but it's just, it was that Ajahn Amaro look that it made me think for a long time about that. Is it really worth it? Is it really worth it?
Kogat Lampa. I was listening to a talk, and our Ajahn translated the third of the fourth nutriments. I know is sankhara, but he translated it as intention.
As Manosancetana. Yeah, I mean, yeah, yes, Manosancetana. It's sort of, it's the intention, inclining of the mind. So as a, and that's a, yeah. And so what does the mind incline to? What does it intend toward? And so that, and especially if it's feeding, instead of the nutriment, it's feeding the hindrance, feeding that manosancetana, the intention of the mind. I'm not sure what other translations are. It's an odd word. Anybody remember other translations of that? Hmm? Yeah, it's like a mental volition.
Is that different than sankhara?
Well, sankhara. What distinguishes sankhara is volition. So, like sankhara is more the construct of the mind as it starts to move, or as it has moved, but it's fed by cetana, but as a nutriment, it's that manosancetana is the Pali that's used. And so that willing of the mind, the intending of the mind, inclining of the mind, and then it feeds off of whatever it looks for, whatever it climbs to, and it's trying to get fed by. And what do we take as nutriment? What do we feed on? It's really, it's really, really important. All of those different nutriments are really important aspects of investigation, because it opens up. I think it's been a while since I've looked at that sutta. I think because it also, in terms of in the main sutta where that the image of the sun's flesh, with that each of the nutriments, when the nutriment is understood, then what is understood is something. And I think it's Namarupa is understood by Manosancetana, if I remember correctly.
I think that's consciousness.
That's consciousness, okay.
It's, 3 types of craving.
Well, the 3 types of craving, okay, thank you. So the 3 types of craving are understood so that, which is even more appropriate, obviously. The Buddha always nails it. But that sense, when understanding that inclining and the volition of the mind, that intending of the mind, what is going to drive that is the 3 types of craving, and then the result of seeing that it is arhatship. So that, or the possible result, taken to its full capacity. Yeah.
Longpa, I was going to ask about with dullness and drowsiness.
Yeah.
I mainly think about the drowsiness, but I think I've got a lot of dullness, and I wanted to ask you if, just suggestions, how to work with that.
I think one of the things is just mindfulness of the body, posture. Having something to sharpen the mind. Using the object of meditation not as something to obsess on, but to help to sharpen the mindfulness and to really clarify. Because as one puts one's attention and effort into clarifying, then the dullness and drowsiness, or the dullness of mind, doesn't have a place to land. It's usually when we start to drift a bit, breathing in, breathing out, it's so pleasant. And then things start getting kind of dull. So that says, we still do the same thing, breathing in, breathing out, or attending to whatever object of meditation we pick, but really clarifying it so that there's a, sharpening one's focus, sharpening the attention to the detail of the moment. And I've always found mindfulness of the body, posture, sensation in the body, going through the body to help to engage the mind. Because it's that engaging of the mind that helps. That's really necessary. Because if we don't engage the mind in what we're doing, then it opens up a bit too much space. You'd like the mind to be spacious, but sometimes too much space is not a good thing either. You're going to turn the mic on.
Sometimes when meditating, the hindrances are very obvious, right? They're just right there and one can see them. And sometimes they're a little more subtle, and I feel like sometimes when I am looking for them, sometimes I'm almost trying too hard and almost creating them, just sort of. And I'm just wondering if you could expound a little bit on, practically checking for the hindrances, because then I can go, spinning if I feel like I'm making it up sometimes.
Well, I think that's why it's helpful to, both in the Satipatthana Sutta, it is mindfulness of when the hindrance is there, and mindfulness when the hindrance is not there. And sometimes we don't actually register. Oh, it's not there, and then we miss the opportunity to delight in that, because we work from an assumption of being a flawed, hopeless meditator that is full of hindrances and defilements. We miss that opportunity to really enjoy it. Well, that freedom from hindrance.
Thank you, Paul.
And that motion of mind looking for a hindrance might be restless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like it's hard to know, like when you see what you look for versus when, like you said, missing the absence thereof. So thank you.